Hello and welcome friend. In the last tutorial we have seen how we can deploy the OVA. So we have just deployed the OVA and I said that it is my custom OS and it will install some of the software through the ISO, and that is what it is doing. So after I clicked on power on, it is doing a installation. So it will take some time and it will do the required installation because it's a custom OS. Now let's suppose you want to create a new virtual machines. What we can do, so click on select and register, and last time to deploy a OVA we said OVA file. This time we will say create a new virtual machines because you want to create a OVA. If you don't have anything, where will you get a OVA? Of course you can get a third-party OVA like Kali Linux gives you OVA, or some places you can give a Santaku VM OVA. But if you want to create your own, just say click virtual machine, create a new virtual machine. Then here you can give compatibility. Now mine is ESXI 6.5, and if you give 5, that means if you have a ESXi server 5 as well as ESXi server 6.5, and if you choose the compatibility region as 5, that means whatever virtual machines you have created on ESXi version 6.5, that can be exported and can be used on ESXi 5.0. However, if you use 6.5 as the hardware compatibility, then that means if you take a VM from this particular ESXi server which is running ESXi 6.5, you cannot export or use those VMs on 5.0 or 5.5 because of compatibility. So you can lower this, but since I have just 6.5 and 6.5 has some improved hypervisor, so I'll not choose a lower version of compatibility, but it depends upon your choice. Guest family OS, I will use Linux. You could use anything, Windows or anything. And OS version, you can choose appropriately. It's not very precise. You could choose anything like Linux. You can choose CentOS and you can install Ubuntu. It will still work, but you might have a problem with respect to VMware tools, and VMware tools gives you some extra features with respect to copy paste and those kind of things. So I'll choose the right one, Ubuntu, because I will be installing Ubuntu 64-bit. Then click on provide a name, Ubuntu 20.04. Then click on next. This is the place where I would be installing in data store 1. If you have multiple hard drives, while installation you could configure multiple data store. I have only one data store. So data store is the place where you can create a VMs, keep an image, keep an ISO and all kinds of things. I'll give a 2 GB memory. Hard disk would be like 50 GB. Depends, you could leave with 20 GB also for Linux at least. And USB 2, USB 3 doesn't work most of the time, and anyway I will not be connecting any USB 3 devices, so I'll just leave as it USB 2. You can use USB 3, but I've seen there are some issues with respect to detections of memory sticks. If you choose USB 3, it may not detect. Okay, so it looks like everything is done. Finish. Now when I say finish, that does not mean that the VM, this my custom image is this one which is booting up, that's fine. This one has not finished installation, so you still have to provide the details with respect to ISO, because where exactly it will boot from, because it's a new VM, you are configuring everything, so you have to give a CD-ROM also. So you in here CD-ROM device, you give host device, you choose data store ISO. Now here if you see data store ISO, in the data store I already have this ISO, so you can select that and save it. You can put things into data store using SSH. In a moment I'll talk about that. So I'll just save this and do a power on. My Linux Ubuntu would be powering on now. So I can just click on the console, open browser console, or launch remote console. Anything is fine. So I'll say browser console and let this be booting up. Now I was talking about how to push the contents into the data store. So data store, I have already enabled SSH to my ESXi server. So if I just do a bash here, this is my Windows WSL, and I can log in using SSH to my data store of my ESXi. So I'll say SSH, username is root @ IP address of my ESXi, which is 210.210.1.210, and say yes, and then password I'll give. Now if you do a df-k here, you will see the details. So this is my data store. This is where things would be placed, and then these are the VMs. These are the volumes, some of the volumes with respect to VMs and all kind of things. So we will not go into much details of this. Whatever you want to push it here, that will be stored, in the sense like if you want to push a ISO, it can be stored here. So let's go to cd/vmfs, then volumes, and then data store 1. Here if you see here ls-l, so you see this is the Ubuntu ISO I copied. So how do I do that now from my machine? Now this is my Windows 10 machine. Inside the Windows 10 machine, I have this ISO downloaded here. So let's go to my download folder. So let me come out of this. I'll go from the Windows side first. So go to the downloads. If I do a dir Windows command, I have this. Let's suppose winzip.exe I want to copy, or any file like VMware client or this guy I want to copy. So what I will do is bash. You could do it from the putty, but I love to have from the command line. So scp ubuntu file. It's a normal command. And then where do you want to scp? Root, username @ ESXi server IP address 210.210.1.210. Now where exactly on that ESXi server, under which folder you want to copy? So you remember we saw that /datastores /vmfs/volume/datastore. So what we will do is it was volumes, vmfs volumes, vmfs/volumes/datastore 1. Hit enter, provide the password. I already have it, so I don't want to overwrite. So that's how you can scp the ISO image using which you want to create a new virtual machine, which we did here. Now this virtual machine is booting up, and once it boots up, it finishes because it's my hardware is not that strong. It's not so sophisticated and beefy, so that's why it's a little bit lagging. But once it boots up, you should be having the same installations as I covered in VirtualBox or VMware Workstations or anything else. That's the usual way you can install any VMs and configure. So it will boot up and it will complete. Thank you all for watching this video, and I hope to see you in my next video. You have a nice time. Bye.